You want to win, huh? You want to rise while the world spits on you, laughs at you, kicks your name around like garbage in the street? Be patient. Patience ain't some soft little whisper in a meditation room. No, patience is war. Silent, slow-burning, dangerous war. You think strength is in noise? In explosions? Nah. Real strength? It's in silence. It's in that quiet room where you sit with your pain and don't run. Where you sit with your anger and don't explode. Where you sit with your dreams and don't beg the world to believe in them. You just wait, building bleed, alone, but focused. They told you to wait your turn, didn't they? What they meant was, wait until we're done destroying your confidence. You trusted that timeline, thought maybe if you were good enough, kind enough, loud enough, they'd notice. You thought loyalty gets rewarded. Nah. Loyalty gets you used real quick. You give your best to people who barely give you their bare minimum. And then they blame you for not being enough. How ironic. You bleed yourself dry. And they say, why aren't you more alive? Let me tell you a little story, kid. Imagine a lion in a cage, not roaring, not moving, just watching. Every fool that passes by thinks he's weak, broken. They throw rocks, they laugh. Stupid lion doesn't even fight back. But that lion ain't dead. He's waiting, calculating, healing. That silence, that stillness, that's a warning. But they're too busy talking to hear it. And one day that cage opens, and suddenly, everyone goes quiet. That's patience, not weakness. Preparation. You want it fast, don't you? Like they do. Chasing likes, chasing noise, chasing fake applause. The loud ones burn out quick. They get the spotlight just long enough to choke on it. You ain't built for flashes. You're built for storms. You don't just want the throne. You want to rebuild the damn kingdom. That takes time, sacrifice, pain, and more silence than you can stand. But the more you shut up, the louder your future gets. They think patience is soft, that waiting means losing. Nah, patience is brutal. It's waking up every day in the same hell and choosing not to break. It's holding back when your name's being dragged, when your worth's being questioned, when your back's against the wall and the only thing louder than your heartbeat is your rage. And still, you wait, with clenched fists and bleeding lips. But you wait, because deep down, you know. This pain isn't the end. It's the beginning of everything. Don't beg them to see you. They're blind, and comfort makes them lazy. They won't see until you become the very thing they tried to bury. You think they'll regret hurting you just 'cause you cried? Nah. Regret only comes when silence turns into success. When the ghost they tried to kill comes back, not to speak, not to explain, but to conquer. You ain't here to prove them wrong with words. You're here to destroy their illusion of who you were, quietly. You keep asking when it'll change. When will it be my turn? That's the wrong question. Ask instead, will I still move, even if it never comes? See, most people are only patient because they think a reward is guaranteed. You've got to be patient. Like nothing's promised. Like nobody's coming. That's how you win. By not needing the wind to keep walking. You want to heal? Then stop waiting for them to apologize. You want to grow? Then stop needing their support. You want to dominate? Then stop telling the world your every move. Stop sharing your plans with people who'd love nothing more than to see them fail. Go dark, stay cold, stay distant. Let them wonder, let them make stories up. That's their problem. Yours is to rise witut noise. Strike when it's too late for them to react. That's what patience does. It blindsides. So yeah, kid, be patient, but not soft. Be patient like a prisoned king, like a volcano before it erupts, like a ghost, building a grave for every fake friend who called you too slow. They won't see you coming. And that's the point. You see, people don't fear what they see coming. They fear what disappears, goes silent, and never explains. That's what makes patience deadly. It doesn't argue. It doesn't scream. It vanishes. And when it returns, it doesn't return to talk. It returns to end. You think the world owes you clarity? A reason? Closure? Nah. The world owes you nothing. That silence you sit in, that's where you become something different. That's where the version of you they betrayed gets buried, and something colder, smarter, and untouchable is born. But only if you endure, only if you don't run from the slow days, the ignored messages, the fake smiles, the nights that stretch forever with no answers. That's the real test. Can you suffer without making noise? Can you get stabbed in the back and still walk straight, not to prove them wrong, but because you don't even care about their opinions anymore? That's real strength. They won't teach you that. Nah. They'll teach you to react, to beg, to post quotes online like some wounded bird trying to get sympathy. But you don't want sympathy. You want silence so deep it echoes. You want scars that talk louder than any speech. Because you know something they don't. You know patience doesn't mean weakness. It means power delayed, not denied. They're watching you, you know. They check your profile more than you check theirs. They wonder if you're broken yet, if you're still standing. They're hoping your silence means defeat. Let them. That's your advantage. They don't know what you're building. They don't know what's coming. While they're out there chasing attention, begging for validation, you're stacking ammo in the dark. Emotional ammo, mental ammo, lessons, rage, strategy. You're learning how to strike without warning. That's what happens when a patient soul finally decides it's time. The world doesn't get a second chance to react. You've been through hell, haven't you? They left when you needed them the most, ignored your loyalty, played with your kindness, laughed behind your back. You gave them everything, and they acted like you were asking for too much. And now they're confused. You went quiet. You stopped calling, stopped chasing. That's why they're nervous. Because silence screams. It screams growth. It screams control. And control? That's the one thing they thought you'd never get. Let them think you're gone. Let them think you lost. Every time they assume you're finished, that's another blind spot you gain. And when you return, don't announce it. Just start taking your time, your space, your power. No warnings, no explanations, just presence. That's what patience teaches you. How to become a storm that doesn't forecast itself. You just show up and change the weather. You're sitting in that dark place right now, wondering if it's worth it. If being silent, strong, and disciplined will pay off. Let me tell you something. They all crack. Every one of them. The fake friends. The ones who used you. The one who said you weren't enough. They all crack. Not because you screamed, not because you tried to make them feel guilty, but because you didn't. You kept walking, kept building. That's the kind of pain people never forget. Not the loud kind, the silent kind, the he didn't even flinch kind. That's what patience gives you. Revenge without effort. Don't wait for the storm to pass. You are the storm. You just haven't learned how to release it yet. All that fire you've been hiding, all that pain you've buried, all that silence you've been surviving in. Use it. Build with it. Every quiet day is a brick. Every ignored message is a weapon. Every lie they told is a shield. Stack it all. And when the time's right, don't shout. Just rise. Rise like a ghost they thought they buried. A shadow with eyes. Cold. Focused. Unbothered. Patience ain't easy. It's not soft. It's brutal. It's walking past the ones who hurt you like they don't exist. It's smiling when you're still bleeding. It's planning your empire while they're busy talking about your ashes. But when it's all said and done, they won't remember the version of you they laughed at. No. They'll remember the silence that followed and what rose from it. And that silence, it's not just for them. It's for you. Because in that stillness, you finally hear yourself without all the noise, without the lies, without the masks they forced you to wear just to be accepted. Patience strips everything fake off you. All the illusions, all the dependencies. It kills the need for approval. It kills the urge to explain. Because once you sit in enough silence, long enough, broken enough, you realize nobody's coming to save you. And that's where you become dangerous. That's where you stop playing their game and start building your own. Quietly, carefully, coldly. The world doesn't need to hear you scream anymore. It needs to feel your presence. They thought your silence meant surrender. That was their first mistake. See, the weak always confuse quiet with defeat, but not you. You've been dying every night and waking up like nothing happened. That's what patience really is. It's surviving your own destruction without showing it. And every time you do, you become a little less human and a lot more legend. People don't fear noise. They fear consistency. They fear the one who disappears and never comes back the same. You think you're the same person they broke? You're not. You're the version that refused to die, the version that watched everything burn and kept building in silence. And that version? It doesn't need to chase anymore. Not love, not friendship, not even recognition. Because when you're patient, you stop reacting to what doesn't serve you. You stop needing to be understood by people who never took the time to listen. You stop arguing with people who chose to misunderstand you. Let them think what they want. They're not your problem anymore. Your job isn't to explain, it's to evolve. Without announcement, without noise, without warning. The most powerful moves are the ones nobody sees coming. And yeah, they'll talk. They'll say you changed, that you're cold, that you're different. Good. That means it's working. They don't realize you gave them the softest version of yourself, and they destroyed it. Now they get to meet the patient version, the calculating version, the version that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and sure as hell doesn't forgive easily. Because patience doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering silently. It means storing every betrayal like fuel. It means using every scar as blueprints, not to react, but to rebuild. Better, stronger, colder. Do you know what scares them the most? Not your anger, not your tears, but the moment you stop explaining your pain and start using it. That shift in your eyes, when you realize nothing they did can stop what you're becoming. That's what keeps them up at night. Because now they know they don't have access anymore. You're not waiting for their apology. You're not hoping for closure. You already gave yourself both in silence. Patience is when you watch the world move around you, fast, chaotic, loud, and you don't flinch. You don't rush. You don't panic. Because you've been through worse. Because you've felt pain so deep, it made you numb. And once you've survived that, there's not much left to fear. They think you're slow? Nah, you're precise. They think you're lost? Nah, you're focused. But your path doesn't need a crowd. Your rise doesn't need witnesses. Let them mock you. Let them talk. One day, that same mouth that laughed will go quiet. Not because you silenced it, but because your success became too loud to ignore. You see, the problem with most people, they want power fast. They want love now. They want revenge immediately. But what they get is short-lived, cheap, hollow. You want something real, and real takes time. Real takes silence. Real takes the kind of patience that breaks weak men and builds monsters. And you, my friend, you were made for this. You've been bleeding in the shadows for too long to stay soft. Let them underestimate you. Let them misread your silence. Because when the clock runs out and you step back in the game, they won't know what hit them. They won't see it coming because they never cared to look deeper. They saw the version of you that bent, that begged, that stayed loyal when it made no damn sense. They thought that version was permanent. But patience doesn't preserve the soft. It forges the savage. They forgot that a person who learns how to wait also learns how to endure. And the one who endures becomes unstoppable. You think sitting in silence is easy? Try staying silent when your heart's in pieces. Try not reacting when you know the truth, but they're feeding the world a lie. Try not breaking when you've been forgotten by the very people you'd have burned for. That's not weakness. That's the strongest form of control you'll ever have. Because in that silence, you sharpen. You stop swinging wildly and start aiming with precision. You stop wasting your pain on people who were never worth your voice. You stop trying to teach loyalty to the disloyal or kindness to the cruel. And in that process, you become immune to their opinions, immune to their manipulation, immune to their absence. You realize your value doesn't rise and fall based on who stays or who leaves. It stays rooted in you. And the longer you wait in that cold, unforgiving space where no one claps for you, no one checks on you, no one understands you, the more you evolve into something they'll regret losing for the rest of their lives. Do you want to win? Then learn this. Reaction is currency. Every time you react to their games, they profit. Every time you respond to their silence with desperation, they gain power. Every time you fold just to keep peace, you lose your soul. But when you stop reacting, when you stop giving them the pleasure of your anger, your sadness, your explanations, that's when they panic. That's when they start to wonder what version of you is growing in the dark. Because now, you're not talking. You're not complaining. You're just vanishing. And people fear what they can't track. They said, be patient, like it was some poetic virtue. But they didn't tell you how much it would hurt. They didn't tell you patience feels like dying slowly while pretending you're okay. They didn't mention the sleepless nights, the bitterness, the self-doubt, the crushing silence. Number. They just said, be patient, like it was simple. But you've learned, haven't you? You've learned that patience is a blade. Not in your hand, but in your spine. It's what keeps you upright when everything else tries to break you. And the ones who master it, they don't just return stronger. They return unrecognizable. So go ahead, let them move on. Let them replace you. Let them say you've changed. Stay silent, stay still, and smile. Because while they're out there trying to find distractions to hide from what they did to you, You're becoming something that doesn't need to be found. It needs to be feared, not because you're violent, not because you're loud, but because you didn't need to prove anything anymore. You didn't need them to see you bleed. You just let them go, and that's what will haunt them. That they did everything to break you, and you didn't even flinch. And maybe one day, far from now, they'll sit alone and wonder what happened to the version of you that used to give them everything. And the answer will sit in the silence they left behind. Because when you went quiet, it wasn't a retreat. It was to rebuild, brick by painful brick, scar by forgotten scar, until you became the very thing they can't forget, the one who healed without help, the one who rose without noise, the one who turned patience into power and silence into revenge. So be patient, but not peaceful. Be patient, like a shadow waiting for the sun to fall. Be patient, like a lion staring through the bars of its cage. Be patient, like the storm just before the thunder. And when it's time, don't knock, don't speak, just take. Everything they thought you'd never have the strength to claim. Because here's the part they'll never understand. Patience is loud on the inside. It's a war you fight alone, every single day. You walk around with a calm face while your mind is screaming. You laugh when you're dying inside. You give when no one gives back. You keep standing when everything in you wants to fall. And they call that strength, like it's something poetic. Nah, it's survival. You're not here because you're brave. You're here because you had no damn choice. And somehow, that made you cold. Not cruel. Just done. Done waiting for people to do right by you. Done waiting for love that comes with conditions. Done apologizing for the fire in your chest. Let them say you're cold now. Let them say you're distant. You should be. You learned the hard way that warmth attracts leeches. That kindness is currency in a world full of thieves. So now you give nothing unless it's earned. You speak less because you realize how many of them were just listening to reply, not understand. You don't share your dreams anymore because they weren't cheering, they were competing. And the less they know, the better. Your patience has become your armor, your silence, your weapon. You've become the villain in their story, not because you changed, but because you stopped letting them write in yours. They thought you were dumb for being loyal, for staying, for trying. And now they think you're cold for leaving. Funny how they only recognize your value after you withdraw it. But don't say a word. Don't try to fix their guilt. Don't give them that closure they refuse to give you. Let them rot in that silence. Let them sit in the mess they made and call it confusion. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them forgiveness. Patience isn't about holding on. It's about holding back. You held back your rage, your revenge, your words. And now You hold back your presence. That's how you win. Quietly. Completely. You used to be soft, didn't you? You used to explain, to chase, to hope. You waited for people to become better. You gave chances they didn't deserve. You saw the good and the worst of them. But the game changed. You didn't. They forced your hand. They made you patient by turning you into a ghost. Not dead. Just invisible to the ones you would have fought the world for. And now that ghost has claws. Now that ghost doesn't whisper. It haunts. They see your silence now and feel uneasy. Because for the first time they realize you're no longer within reach. And that's when they start remembering. Not who you were, but how they treated you. They remember the loyalty they ignored, the messages they left unread, the love they laughed at, the tears they caused. And by the time they realize patience doesn't mean forever, it's too late. You're already someone else. You already outgrew the version of you they mishandled. You already built an empire in the dark. And that empire has no gates open to the ones who tried to burn you down. So no, don't speak, don't explain, don't text, don't call. Let the silence carry your legacy. Let it echo every lesson they refuse to learn. Let your success scream where your voice no longer will. That's what patience does. It gives you the final word without speaking. It gives you the last move without warning. And it gives you peace, not the fragile kind, but the cold, earned, untouchable kind. The kind that only warriors of silence carry. And you've earned it. You've bled for it. You've waited for it when no one clapped, no one cared, and no one stayed. So when they ask what happened to the person they used to know, let them wonder. Let them grieve the version of you they killed with their ignorance. Because you won't come back as that person. You'll come back as someone they can't handle anymore. You'll come back as the version they tried to silence, just sharper, colder, and far beyond their reach. You see, people don't realize they're creating a storm until the sky turns black. They think patience is you sitting still, taking hit after hit. But what they don't see is that every hit adds weight to a mind already calculating. Every betrayal feeds the machine. Every silence they gave you taught you how to speak with action. And now you're becoming everything they fear. A version of you that doesn't need anyone to be complete. A version that doesn't chase, doesn't break, doesn't care. You're not healing to prove a point. You're not rising for applause. You're just done playing small to make others feel comfortable. They'll come back eventually. They always do. Not because they care, but because they see what you became without them. And by then, your patience will have done its job. It will have turned your name into something that echoes without sound. Something that lingers without presence. And when they knock, don't answer. Not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because the door they closed on you was never yours to begin with. You built your own in the dark, with your own hands, with your own pain. And that door doesn't open for ghosts from the past. You remember the nights you stayed awake hoping they'd call, hoping they'd say sorry. You remember questioning your worth because they didn't see it. That version of you is dead, buried under every moment of silence you endured. Now you don't wait for apologies. You outgrow the need for them. You don't chase closure. You create your own. You don't ask them to stay. You just watch who disappears and take notes. Because in the end, the people who truly love you won't make you question your place.